This got it. Okay, that tweet dispense. Hello, hello. Welcome back. It is another day and another stream. So this one is going to be a little bit more chilled than usual. And the reason for that is probably painfully obvious by now if you've been on my page and listening to my weekly rambles. But I have a show coming up and it's you'll have to excuse me. Yeah, so I have a show coming up. It is this Saturday, and it is essentially a craft fair. And this will be different than the usual. And the reason for that is, well, I'm used to doing conventions, and they're the 2-3 day type of shows. But more importantly, they are the anime, Comic-Con, VTuber type of crowd. And so this be fresh new waters for me. I signed up for a couple of shows this year of this nature. It is just basic 1 or 2 day app shows to explore new markets. And a big part of that is if you've been on Twitter, social media in general, you'll probably hear plenty of artists how it's gotten more and more difficult to get into shows these days, and I'm experiencing that a little bit, but I can't complain too much because most of the shows that I'm not getting into are the ones that are requiring me to travel quite a bit, and so they don't know what they're missing out on. But I also thought, hey, this is a good opportunity because I just need some food art, and it's a direction that I'm looking to go further in. And this is actually something that I think will do fine in the more craft fair, vendor markets, farmers market type of scenarios. And so, anyway, all that to say, today is going to be pretty relaxed, because I have the show coming up, and I figure it'll be a good opportunity to show you a little bit about what goes into the actual preparation process for the shows themselves. And this is more applicable to any type of show. At least I'm gonna try and make it that way. And there'll be spots where I'm just yapping away like this, but I'm also aiming for it to be kind of a chill work stream as I go back and forth collecting inventory, different things that I need for this show. So just to start off a little bit, I gotta do some advertising. I put out this burger just the other week on the social media, and it's a new format that I'm trying out. You saw me last week and the week prior working on the components that went into this, and I love it, honestly. There are definitely room for improvement, but it is really good for what I can do in a short amount of time. So this is a format that I'm trying out. I just want to present the food real nicely, give it a muted background to show off the work and make it frameable. And this is kind of also because my printer claims that it does borderless printing, but it often gets ink on the rollers, and so I'm trying to not do borderless ink printing. But this kind of format I'm vibing, so I'm gonna put it out there, see how it does over the next couple of months. Do a couple more pieces. He will probably have one more before the show, just that way it's not so sparse. But on that topic, we have this burger here. I also made a poster quite some time ago, which I have produced initially as a 11 by 17 piece, and I like the idea. I just don't think it translated too well in that 11 by 17 format, so I shrunk it down to the 5 by 7 format, and I'll put that out there, see if it works. If it doesn't, oh well. And then I also have a quick print of the soda cans that I made last year. Just put them together in a nice Andy Warhol-ish print. See how that does. The big thing that I'm doing here is getting data, and that's a big part of being a business owner first and an artist second, to say you need data to know, okay, is my audience gonna react well to this type of work versus this type of work, that format, this format, and so on. So it's all about the experimentation, and next week's stream, I'm going to be able to tell you a little bit more about how the craft fair itself went and what kind of information I got out of that show. So if you're an artist or a business owner looking to kind of learn how the process of post-event analysis goes, please come to that stream. I'm gonna try and make it as interesting as possible. So we got those prints. I have a couple of other things that I'm doing. I did send off a very large batch of keychains and pins, mostly prior work, but it is also just trying to figure out, okay, is it the art, is it the concept, is it the format that needs work? So I took a bunch of my goblin gummies, and let me see if I can actually bring it up. Where are ya? Searching through my many folders. Prints. Keychains maybe. Grays. Here's today's collection. So I'm just gonna snap off a screenshot here. Bring that over. Alright. So yeah, I put in a big order. We got the Abduction soda, which is coming up for the convention after this one. it is going to be part of a more aliens cryptid type of stamp rally that I'm participating in. Hopefully they arrive in time. But that's going to be an interesting one because that one actually exists right now as a 1-inch pin. So it's like a filler pin, and a Lake Bridge magnet, and I put those into like a Halloween gacha basket kind of thing. That was my theme late last year's. I made it I went to Spirit Halloween, and it was actually useful for once, because they did have props there that I could use, and one of them was a wicker basket with it was black overall with red checkered dressing on it, and so it was just like the perfect Halloween vampire theme basket to put all of the Gachapon balls in and then have people draw from that. But anyway, I also have some of my older Pokemon designs in there, like the Bellsprout Cornet, the Tangletart, the Executor Melon Bread, the Love Disc Truffles. I did omit the Butterfree pancakes just because I thought that was something that really could use some rework. Got a bunch of a Goblin gummies in here, like the Grunt, a Crystal, a Ramun Potion, the Strawberry Aminata Mushroom. Got the sodas, the 2 best sellers. I omitted Pineapple Blast and Starfruit Breeze because those weren't too popular. The designs that I did for Halloween, a couple of additional new stuff, a burger, a bunch of things from a Pacific Convenience set. But yeah, just a large collection of keychains and pins to test out the format, and I probably won't bring the entire collection for a show. I'll do maybe 50-50 or 25-25, and then just rotate it throughout the season. That way I can get more fair data, because I'm actually doing this twice, keychain and pins. They will be 2.5-inch keychains and 2-inch pins. I am still waiting on proofs, so I'm a little bit nervous as to whether it'll be here in time from Fograce. I am also looking into other manufacturers, see if I can find a more competitive rate or a better turnaround time, just to improve those metrics, because Fograce is a little bit expensive and it can be a little bit slow, but their customer service has been pretty good to me. So I like to keep using them until I find a better alternative. So that's a fun new stuff in quotes coming. Let's see here. Got those. I am doing a fun thing as well as part of a alien and cryptic rally is artist cards. You may be familiar with the concept of AC E O, something like that. Arts collectible editions and originals, I think they're called. But I have actually been seeing those get popular again. And so the idea that we had was that we would make trading cards of ourselves, but theme it after the convention or the rally that we're participating in. And so I drew myself as a alien with a good old walk, alien bright as rice. So I'm looking to clean this up and color it in over the next 2 weeks before the event, and I'll be printing them off here. I do have a bunch of cardstock that I'm using with like matte laminate and holographic laser laminate. This for like special editions. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna pack these cards into like legitimate packs and hand them out as prizes for the rally. And so I just thought it would be great fun to do this, and I absolutely love trading cards with full illustrations. I mean, I have a illustration rare Squirtle. Actually, I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna look for it. I got a couple here. I got the Squirtle, the one that's on the beach. Lovely, lovely card. I got the Chubby Pikachu in the forest. I love the chubby style bird Pikachu. It's so fun. I got a Swallow. It's a nice grassy hill, right? Clouds in the distance. Lovely art. I love it. And then Tangela is swinging from the trees and just being cute. I love the art style. I also have a illustration rare Articuno somewhere. Just don't recall. It might be bolted because I got it as part of the GameStop thing that they've been doing, and apparently they're doing a special power packs thing tomorrow. That's supposed to be full of illustration rares from the looks of it. That's gonna be fun, but also painful for my wallet. I am very much an art collector. I am not a scalper. I don't care much for reselling it. It's just, I would love to have just like a big old art rare collection up on a wall. And I may even make my own version of it at some point. Because that is probably something I'll be doing this year. As far as the fandom themes, I'm probably gonna go back to Pokemon, just start from the very beginning and make art prints and recipes based off of the original 151 Pokemon. And so that'll be a big challenge for me, but I think it'll be very worthwhile. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do a how do I say, like a combined art piece for it. Um, I do have another idea. I think it may be for the next convention, not this one, but the one after it. Um, but this one is like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles convention. Oh no, it would actually be for the one in May, because that one is the one with the voice actors for the Turtles, and April as well. But this is the idea that I had in mind. And I know it's a little bit cliche, but I should scale this, or at least get it on a different layer. But this is the idea that I had in mind for that art piece. And another piece right over here. And then another piece over here. But you can kind of see where I'm going with this. It's going to be just 4 separate art pieces like this. And then when you put them together, it creates the overall diagram of a whole pizza, and each of them would be the different turtles represented by their interest or their designs. You know, so that kind of a combined art piece I think would be really interesting. And of course I want to have the actual recipe for it on the back, but that's an idea that I have for a later convention. See, where was I going with all of it? I say Curse sometimes just talks so much you kind of forget what you actually wanted to talk about in the first place. But yeah, the just like collection art prints and those kind of things, I have been finding a lot of fun in I should say it actually is part of my name here, Gestalt, is like Gestalt type art. So we get the pieces. From 4 different art pieces. The carry the platypus badge ribbon. They had this as 2 separate badge ribbons, and so you could put them on your badge holder at 2 different points, and then someone could see this bottom one here. It's like a platypus badge ribbon. You grab it, pull it up to the hat, and then wearing the Platypus badge ribbon. And then, of course, the Gouda burger set. And then the Dungeon a la Carte. That is probably the one that I'm gonna try to finish sooner than later, so I can get that through the manufacturer for that, because I don't have the equipment to do my own badge ribbons. I've been kind of slacking on that front, unfortunately. But I should get that done relatively soon, so they'll be ready for the show after this one. Okay, I think I've done enough yapping on unrelated things. So, main topic for today, the upcoming show. And I normally would do this kind of research work before I even apply, but I figured this is good content, why not do it? And this is just something that I wanted to do because it was low stakes and just see a different kind of market. But we have the vendor craft fair. And we got our placements today, so that is very good to have. And from what I understand, the event center is kind of set up like this. And then there's like this extra room down here, a couple of extra rooms over here. Concessions is over here, I think. And then the main entrance is like over here. So what I'm doing right now is just getting a lay of the land. And this is pretty important to do when you're working news shows, because it gives you a better idea of how to set up your booth, because the way that traffic will flow around the area is going to be different, and you may want to rearrange how you actually set up a booth in order to capture the best interest, or capture the most customers, I should say. And from what I understand, it's kind of like this. Something like that. And then there's breaks in between. So, consumer psychology for a little bit. People are going to prefer to stick to their side that they come in first, and they will often go to the right. And so this tells me that traffic could go one of the two ways here. Down this way or down this way. And it is kind of likely that it will be like this. And then they will either go this way in order to traverse the silos or continue around the perimeter. Now, the unfortunate thing is, I looked at my placement and apparently I am right over here, right in this little back room area. And it doesn't seem like there's a real rhyme or reason other than, they just happen to have more than the usual amount of, more than the usual amount of vendors this year compared to prior years. I think last year they didn't have these sections or this back section here. It was just all within this hall, so that should be interesting. Another big name for artist is placement can be a big factor in how well a show goes. A really good show could go horribly because of bad placement. A relatively bad show could go really well because of placement. So that's always something to keep in mind, because unless you're participating in one of those shows where rebooking generally gets you the same placement each year, that is going to be a factor in how your year-to-year performance goes. But back to the original point, most of the people will come in through either one of these two doors, and I anticipate this is probably going to be the one that gets used the most. They'll go down and around, and so that tells me that I should orient my booth a certain way in order to capture that visual breadth. So if traffic flow is like this, then what I'm gonna want to do is try to position the higher value items on this side, and then the lower value items over here, because depending on what your neighbors are like, but generally speaking, when you're going across a booth, it's going to be like this. So if you're traveling this way, you're not going to see most of this stuff right here until you stop and then start looking around. So you want to try to catch the most eyes around here at eye level, and then in the flow of the traffic. so that way they're more likely to stop and observe your what you have to sell. Okay, what can I do this year? I am bringing pretty minimal amount of stuff for this show in particular because most of my inventory as it is very anime, very Comic-Con, um, VTuber forward, and those are things that you probably won't want to bring to the show that is full of like families, housewives looking to get decorations for their house, um, those kind of things. So what I'm thinking I'm probably gonna bring is prints, the small ones, um, recipes, practical stuff. I actually don't think I have any that aren't being worked on right now, so that one is out. And then stickers. Always good to have stickers just because it's impulse and because it is a show with kids around, so they're gonna be more likely to yank on their parents' sleeve and say, hey, can we get these stickers? So I want to try to appeal somewhat generically with that. So I have some food themed stickers that I can put out. Keychains. I don't think I have any that's worth going for right now. I do have some older like soda pins still left. I will have to double check my inventory numbers on those because I did use most of them in the mystery bags. And I am gonna slip in some Pokemon stuff. But these will be like the ones that I just brought up earlier in the stream. They are more food forward than they are Pokemon forward. So I'm gonna slip those in. And we have to bring our own tables and chairs for a event like this, which is part of a reason why it can be so cheap, because they don't have to have a whole bunch of tables and fitted tablecloths on hand, or rent them from somewhere else if they have to. That's a part of the venue cost that can sometimes raise a ticket price for the vendor up to the hundreds level. This one is $60. But once you get above about $100, it generally comes with its own table and chairs. I do know, thankfully, that it is a indoor event. So I just need to bring a table, chair, and that's it. I don't have to bring a canopy. I don't have to bring additional like fasteners to keep things on the table, because that's a big problem with outdoor events in general, is that weather is such a big factor in incidental damages. If you devour artist alley vlogs like I do, you may come across disaster stories where somebody's booth basically got picked up by the wind and thrown away, or there's been torrential rain and water's getting on the merchandise. So it's always a little terrifying, but it's an indoor event, so I don't have to worry about those weather conditions. I do have to worry about the weather conditions outside. We are apparently supposed to be getting some more snow in the next couple of days. Not a great deal, but it may be an impact to traffic in the area. And this is also a center that I'm unfamiliar with, so I don't know, like, do they crank up the heat? Do they blast the AC? So I want to be prepared. And then I got a new table runner, and I love it. It's a like a nice muted tomato color runner, and it's got my new logo on it. So it's gonna be great. So I'm just gonna squeeze that up a little bit here. And if I take a look at my convention inventory, I have a separate a separate like Notion page where I put all of my things that I'm considering bringing. Yeah, I'm just gonna switch the scenes here a little bit, see if that works. Okay. Yeah, this was gonna be part of what I do today, is just figure out, okay, what do I have and how much of it am I gonna be bringing. A lot of the Pacific convenience set here. There's these 3 prints that I'm gonna be bringing, but you can probably see in real small on the 3rd column is that a lot of these are actually under 10 items, meaning that I'm gonna be doing a lot of production work the next couple of days as well to get these all up. I try to aim for about 10 units of anything, but I also don't go below 1 batch. So, like the Blackberry Danish squid here, if I recall correctly, that one normally prints about 8 to a sheet. So I'll just do 1 batch of 8 stickers. Some of these produce a lot more in one go because the shape of them will be conducive to that. But yeah, I will basically just print batch by batch until it gets over 10, and then that'll be the end of it for that particular run. The other window here is the master inventory that I've been working on for a while, and it's a lot of work, but this is something that I'm trying to do to make sure that what I do is properly organized, properly notated. So for a sample, like these guys right here, these are Ampharos. That means they are just like little bits of cardstock with the design printed on them, maybe laminate, but they don't stick to anything. And I had them made because I have a laser cutter here, and what I was doing with them is making pins out of it. But I did realize after a little bit that the glue that I was using to attach these were leaving some pretty ugly marks on the design itself, and then it was just overall very messy process, so I just stopped that after a bit, and I had a bunch of things left over. And then I have some of my VTuber inventory over here. I have them set up in different categories, and that is archived, retiring, rotational, support, war, back of the house, rework, deceased. And it's a little morbid. But the idea is that these are set up so I can tell myself, okay, was this something I just decided to retire because it just wasn't doing well? Or is it something that's on its way out for one reason or another? For example, when it comes to VTubers, there are times when the VTubers themselves graduate for one reason or another. Generally, they aren't able to keep selling merchandise of that VTuber after a while. And so that's on its way out. There is rotational, which is what most of my like Halloween stuff are, is things that I can only bring when it's Halloween. Otherwise it's just a poor fit for the event itself. There's support. They are things that I will bring in order to fill the table, as long as it's suitable for the event. There's core. This is the area that you would want to focus on a lot as a artist that sells at conventions, just trying to expand that core category, and then reaching some kind of critical mass of products that you can pretty much always sell at the events that you go to, and then fill up the rest with new stuff, with things that will occasionally sell for one reason or another. I also have rework candidates in here, and they are ideas that I think have some merit, but for one reason or another, it might not be the best format or the best design for the idea. And the Butterfree pancakes is one of those. It is an idea that I think has merit, but I think the overall execution of it could be better for the print than the other items like the Pacific Company sets. Certain items are things that I'm trying out with the keychains and pins, is the rework to see if is that the format that will best serve those items. And then disease. This one is probably the most negative remark on any of these. They are basically ideas that I tried, but they just don't get traction at all. And I just don't feel right about continuing to sell them for one reason or another. Let me see if I can find one that's part of a category. Okay, yes. These right here. These were the recipe cards that I did last year. Kind of it's part of the Midwestern fall Halloween theme. 2 different sets of recipe cards, but the idea that I had done for those is I wanted to try and get more into that Vanillaware style. And so I was working on a full table setup with dishes, pans, cups, different props and whatnot. And I found that the material that it was printed on was not suitable for recipe cards. Unfortunate. 2, the print quality itself was horrid because the presentation itself was pretty warm in the Vanillaware style, and because of that it ended up being very dusky. You couldn't really see stuff too well. Colors didn't come out well. I didn't really see anybody picking them up. They were just kind of passed right over. I think I sold maybe one of the Anaconda Swamp Cooler because that one was probably one of the better actual color fidelity designs of batch, but I basically will never sell these again outside of just tossing what I have left in the mystery bags and call it a day. But that's what that category is for, is just to remind myself of the various issues that I had. And I also have a notes column for any specifics that I want to put in. But yeah, like I said, it's all about data, and you got to keep an eye on what you're doing at all times if you want to keep growing as a artist and as a business person, because there is a certain charm to just doing your own thing for a good while, just drawing because you want to draw. But if you want to get somewhere with it, start taking commission work, start doing conventions and whatnot, it becomes less of a you're just free to do whatever type of decision, and you start having to do things in contribution to that goal, like data collection, trial and error. So, but as you can see, I have a lot of stuff, and none of this is duplicates. I check to make sure I have not previously recorded these items when I do the inventory. And part of what I'm doing over here in the per show list is recording what I actually brought. That way, when I do the inventory later, I can just take a look at these and say, okay, did I have any shrink? That is, there are a lot of sticky fingers at conventions. It is just a natural part of the whole lifestyle. You're gonna have to deal with that at some point. And then also, just is the bookkeeping accurate? Because there are a certain amount of production cost that goes into each individual item, and if you have that properly tracked, it makes it so much easier to do your taxes later. And I kind of had to rush on my taxes because mine were essentially due on January 31st as opposed to April 15th like most. But I did all of my taxes in one go. I did my business taxes and did my personal taxes at the same time, so I could just get that out of my hair. But it is just a good idea overall to be tracking this kind of thing as you go. Oh gosh, I have been talking a lot. Let's see. Let's get back to the other scene here. Alrighty. So, overall, I know I can bring prints. I do have a few recipes, not a whole lot, but that's something I'm working on for this year. And stickers. Alright, so we got the basic tablecloth runner. For the prints, I do have some acrylic stands. They have been getting pretty popular recently, and I don't know if it's like just the fact that so many artists are talking to each other about what they use for their equipment, but I've noticed that Amazon is starting to develop its own category of products specifically for artist alley use. I just thought that was hilarious. But I do have a couple of acrylic stands I already ordered. So I'll be taking advantage of those for this. I also bought like this wood style. It is unfortunately plastic. I would have loved to have a like a cloth or a canvas, but I'm gonna try out this and see if it's something that I want to do. And so I'm just gonna dress up the tablecloth with this kind of wood pattern so it looks like a counter. The other idea that I had for this year is a potential was like a food stall type of setup, but this is such a small show, and I don't have a whole bunch of material for it, so it doesn't make sense to do that. And then there's also another format of products that I would like to put out this year, which is fictional restaurant review type of things. So this is a style of print that I saw online. It is just like several food illustrations, maybe a couple of smaller doodles related to the restaurant, the town, whatever. And then the page is just filled with rambling about the restaurant itself. So that's something that I want to look into and try out. There is a like a Pokemon National Geographic magazine that I'm contributing to for this year, and that's where the first iteration of this idea is going to go into. So it'll be a lot of fun. Grab that and pop it onto another layer. So if I do more of those, I could do kind of a field kitchen type of setup. So that'll be fun, but again, it's a small event. I don't have a whole lot to go on with. So I'm gonna put my tablet over here. Business cards over here, and acrylic stands for the stickers. And this is once again consumer psychology. You want to put the things that are very impulse driven close to checkout. That way they're more likely to like, oh, one more thing. That's the whole idea over here. And then I do have a couple of small pins, so I might put that in the space up here. And then this area will be for the prints. And these are actually two different types of acrylic stands. This one is more like a greeting card stand. And then the other one for the stickers, I've been using nail polish display stands. So those have been getting somewhat popular for use. And I had the idea of using index card holders with corrugated plastic for stacking up the prints and all of that on a rack, but I decided against it for this because the adhesives can come off a little bit too easily and then pick up gunk if you overstuff them, and they may not be large enough to handle prints that are sleeved like my 5x7s. And so I'm just using regular acrylic stands for them. And I may have to remake some signs for pricing. I'll have to double check what I have and whether those still look good as is. But yeah, this will be a pretty simple overall setup. And I only have to recover like $75, give or take. And then everything else after that is wages for me. So hopefully the show itself goes well. I actually think I might just wrap it up here. Just keep it short. That way I can get back to doing some more work. But thank you very much for coming, and I hope this was somewhat informative, entertaining even, I hope. But yeah, definitely look forward to next week where I can show some pictures, tell you guys a little bit more about the event itself and just how I felt about it. Whether just trying to do small events like these can be viable for budding artists, because they're pretty low stakes type of events, but they do require proper preparation to do well in. So I'll have lots of information for you guys next time. Until then, thank you very much, and you have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.